Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Trust you're having a good day so far. My name is Dotun Ayodele of AfricaX, and today I'll be bringing you the interesting story of a lady known as Andrea Cox. Andrea will be telling us her story as a second generation immigrant, born and raised in Calgary by parents from Jamaica. And she'll just be sharing her perspective in terms of how immigrant parents should consider their children when they're making the decision to make the jump. So without taking any more time, welcome with me, Andrea Cox. Hello, Andrea. How are you doing? How's your day been?
Thanks.
Fantastic.
Interesting, but good.
Fantastic. Happy to hear that. So, could you just introduce yourself briefly to our audience and tell them a bit about who you are and what you'd like them to know?
Ooh, who am I? Well, my name is Andrea Cox. I tell people that I am Jamaican. I was born and raised here in Calgary. Both of my parents are from Jamaica. So although I was born and raised here, I was raised as a Caribbean background, right? So what can I say? What does that look like, being born and raised here in Canada with a Caribbean background? I think one of the biggest things are the rules. There's certain things we're not allowed to do that our schoolmates were allowed to do.
Yeah.
So, and there's certain things that we would not dare do because we had, that fear in us growing up. So
the fear is real.
it is. Like, those eyes, it's like they follow you to school and back home kind of thing.
Yeah. So you use the term there, Jamaican. What does that mean?
Jamaican Canadian.
Oh, okay. So
JM for Jamaican and Adian for Adian.
Okay, so what would you define as the essence of being Jamaican? What would make you that?
A mix of Canadian Jamaican.
Being Canadian is a maple leaf, maple syrup, ice hockey. So how do you guys merge the Jamaican side, which is jerk chicken, spicy stuff, endless sunshine, and coconut milk? How do you bring those two together?
Well, one thing I know that has not come together is that although I've been born and raised here, I do not like the winter. I shouldn't use the word hate. I do not like the winter. So that has not merged together even until now.
Nice. At least you're honest enough to accept it. Some people would play around it, but you're straight up like that. I like that.
Straight up.
I like that. Nice. So as far as you're concerned, you are telling us the essence of being Jamaican. What does that mean?
Well, growing up, our parents were quite strict. So like, for instance, after school, we had to come straight home. There's no such thing as going to the malls with your friends. You come straight home, right? Yep. So there's no such thing as when there's a school day off to go to your friend's house to go hang out. Oh no, that wasn't happening. Wasn't happening that we couldn't do sleepovers. And I don't know if that was a Jamaican thing. I'm not too sure. I would say, or maybe, let me ask you, as Africans, were you allowed to sleep over at friends' house and stuff like that growing up?
No.
Right. So I think
happened only when you went to your cousins. So
right.
Your parents were there with you. It was a family to family kind of thing. But that meant you left town and went to another city and you stayed in their place, but you just went to some guy 4 blocks away. No. We'll do all the talking and walking and everything and then go to our house when it's time to go to bed.
Right, exactly. So that was pretty much what I mean, although we were born and raised here, there was still that Jamaican part that was hanging over us. If we get in trouble at school and the teacher calls, you have that fear. So and respect is huge, right? Yep. So there's certain things that we just would not do because we knew that if once it gets back to our parents, we're gonna feel it,
You
right?
got
So
real very quickly.
exactly.
Nice, nice. I like, and I'm very, oh, what you're describing sounds very familiar, because that's how growing up back home in Africa is.
Mhm.
You're respectful, you're conscious of the family name, you don't want to mess the name up. So when you go to school, you're kind to your friends, respectful of your teachers, you don't jump the fence, and if you do, you don't let anybody hear about it, but you know they will, so you better just don't do it, that kind of thing. So that was a that's familiar, and I totally understand that. Being a second generation Jamaican who grew up born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, when did it dawn on you that you were an immigrant, or that you are born to immigrant parents? Should I say? I think that's a more accurate. When did it finally occur to you? When did it that aha moment, whether it was a positive aha moment or a negative aha moment, it doesn't matter. When did it dawn on you that, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not exactly from around here and things are kind of different with me?
Oh, that's, and I'm going to be honest with you, that's a difficult question. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because being born and raised here in the Northeast, hanging out with other Black students, I've never felt discriminated against,
Mm,
right? So it wasn't until I was in my career working in HR, there was this one client of mine that I don't know what it is, but this lady had it out for me that my manager had to take that account. And that's when it hit me that, oh my goodness, this person is really racist. Because, when I would meet my clients, I'd be talking to them on the phone. So they don't know who I am
yep.
until I do a site visit. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until I did my site visit did this lady realize that I was Black. And that was the only time that I could say personally that I felt discriminated against, or that I really felt that it's because I was Black why she was treating me that way, and then complaining to my manager about something that I don't even know what it was. And because my managers, like, they've been working with me for so many years that they didn't even bother taking it on. They obviously felt how I was feeling, and she just
Yep.
took that client on, right? So when I hear, our young people talk about racism, I never experienced that. And it's probably very possible because, you go to school to go to school, and you go home and you go home. So there wasn't no in between for certain things to happen. Like, we had great teachers growing up. So, and probably because I was in a school that had more Black students, the teachers, I don't know if they worked really hard not to discriminate against, but that just wasn't my experience.
Wow. And that's amazing to hear, right? Because it's interesting that at least even though it's so to speak, in a foreign land, you've been able to come to terms that this is home, and it's not just home in your head, it's home in your heart too.
Hmm.
And that, for me, that's an amazing thing. That's definitely an amazing thing, and it speaks to what a lot of my other more recent immigrants have said about Canada being a welcoming country, and being a place where you can come here, find a home, settle down, um, and feel welcome and accepted.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
that kind of a thing. So that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus. Being the child of immigrants, from your experience, I know it's been a long time ago, but I also know that you do a lot within the immigrant community. You work with parents, you work with younger children, you work with older folks. I know your work puts you in line in the face of a lot of the older generation who are 60 and above. But I know you've also dealt with your contemporaries who are new in town, who have kids. So from all of that, what do you think will be things that young people with kids um, should be aware of, or young people who want to come into country? What do you think they should be aware of in terms of making that decision to immigrate and come to a country like Canada? What are the things that they should have top of mind? Mindset changes, attitude changes that they need to make, right? That will serve them. What are those things?
Right. I think one of the biggest things is do your research before you come, because a lot of us come to a new country and it's more kind of hearsay, right? So as much stress as it is on our parents when they come, there's a lot of stress on the children also.
Mm.
And why am I saying that? Now that I could see in, as I said, growing up, I don't, it's a difficult question, but I could see in now, like, oh my goodness, I could see how it can be difficult.
Mm.
Because for instance, what's a good example? Because there's some pressures that parents put on the children.
Yeah,
And
like you have to be a straight A student in this new country, and I don't care what it takes you. You are straight A's back home. The straight A's need to continue. End of story. I don't care.
and it's just not the same, right? Because they have to adapt to the change also, just like how mom and dad is adapting in, at their work. The children has a lot to adapt to also, keeping in mind, like, um this one, sorry, I'm going to do a commercial break, because this one really is one that for instance, growing up, we do the rice and peas, we do the curry chicken, we do the jerk chicken, do the, snapper, like fish, love it. Sending our children to school with that can cause problems, because the kids will start making fun of you. Okay. So I think that when you come to Rome, you do what the Romans do. So, then you have the kids making fun of your children because their food smells, like, you know what I mean? So it's almost to somehow adapt, like some certain things we hold on to on our children.
Yeah.
And there's certain things we just need to let go, because it adds so much stress, because, you have all this stress at home.
Andrea, think about that grilled snapper. That thing's delicious, man.
Why does it have to go to school with me so the kids are making
Okay. Maybe we don't want to send you to school with grilled snapper, but we're gonna make our grilled snapper at home.
There's nothing wrong with eating it at home, but I'm saying we don't need to send our children to school with these foods.
Okay.
Because children get made fun of.
So if they get made fun of because of something as simple as food, then that means they could get made fun of because of the way they wear their clothes. They could get made fun of because of the way they wear their hair. They could get made fun of because of the way they carry their bag, or the kind of shoes they wear, the way they speak.
Yeah, so it's just to
Because
make this easy.
when I came to Canada, this is how I used to talk. This is how we talk in Nigeria. Do you get? This is how we talk. But over time, I've learned to tone it down, and I'm not as hard on my consonants, and my vowels kind of roll a bit more, right? So that's and that didn't come from just the fact that, I think it came more from the fact that I heard more people speak that way, and I decided to adjust so that I could fit in and get less of, sorry, I didn't hear what you said, when I go to the bank or when I go to the store. Right. So those are things that I don't think any conversation can prepare you for, but the conversations make it less difficult when they happen.
Yeah.
Right. For example, personally, when I'm on a call and somebody says, "Can I have your name?" I instinctively spell my name. I don't bother, because I'm like, I don't think there's anybody in that department who can spell my name. So AYODELE, BAMISAIYE. And that's how it is. Apple, yellow, orange, Delta, Eagle, Lion, Eagle. That's me, 100%.
Right.
Whereas if I was James Smith, I'd say my name is James Smith, and it's done. Right. So I think those are the things that what you have said suddenly bring out of me, and it's a whole new vista that, if we're not conscious of, creates a lot of pressure and stress that nobody's taking account of but it exists.
It
And
does.
we
It
all have to
does.
deal with it, and we all have to cope with it, and we all have to address it, or else
Right.
it's just going to be pain,
It's going to be a pain. Yeah.
right?
So it's just to do whatever we can to help ourselves and our children with that transition to make it
Mm,
easier on
mm.
both parties, the parents and the children.
Okay, okay. So basically, one, minimize the incidents or the opportunities for the kids to be picked on,
There you go.
right? So I'm not saying take out the heritage. When it's time, come out in full regalia if you want to, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as possible, help the children to find themselves and fit in.
There's another one
Yeah.
that I find interesting. It's like almost like I'm born and raised here in Calgary. And I really think that it is important for parents to keep the various languages within the children, but as they're growing up, somehow allowing English to be the first language. So
Mm,
having a child that's born and raised in Calgary, in Alberta, in Canada, but yet when they go to school, they're put in English second language. That puts them backwards. You know, growing up in school and seeing kids in ESL, it was almost like we didn't make fun of children, but people would make fun of the children because they speak a different language. But when they're born and raised here and the family are, you know, ensuring that they keep that language, it puts them back when they go to school. So that's another thing that, you know, as I said, as I get older, it dawns on me like,
mm.
we're born and
Yeah,
raised.
that's a different perspective now, because okay, that requires me to some figuring out for me personally, because I'm like, my kid's gonna learn the English language in school. There is no opportunity for my daughter to learn Yoruba apart from if I teach her. If I don't teach her, she loses all connection with the language. And the essence of culture, one of the key components of the cultural fabric, food, dressing, language. If you take out any of those three, it's like a tripod, one of the legs on a tripod is missing, right? So, because I know that the day is going to come and she's going to say, "Hey, daddy, what's our language? Do we speak English where we come from?" I don't want to have that conversation. So I load her up on the Yoruba now while she's a kid. She'll learn Yoruba with French and English and Spanish and as many languages as she can take on. We'll take it together.
Don't
But
get
when
me
she
wrong,
gets to school,
that is great, but it's when it puts them back when they go to school.
yeah,
So I think it's important that you do have that conversation with them so that they're able to learn these various languages, but to have it that it puts them back when they get to school. Do you know what I mean? We've already put them back.
I get you. So
Now,
we
mind you,
basically
I
whatever.
don't know how the school system is now. I
Mhm.
don't. But you know, I can think back to when we were in school and how there are some kids that we know that were born and raised here with us in Calgary. And yet when they went to school, they were put in English second language.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know
I
I'm
get
gonna
that.
make you think.
No,
Sorry.
no. I get that, and the reason why is it's not fair on the kid for the English to be that bad when they're going to school, right? Because hey, they're born and raised here. At the same time, because you don't want them wanting and longing in their late teens and 20s, you also need to put in the cultural language right in there. So let them grow with both,
Definitely.
right?
Definitely.
And give them the opportunity to express in both. So
Definitely.
I totally, but definitely not one to the detriment of the other. That's where it becomes unfair because the kid's gonna remind you, why didn't you teach my? I know a kid who's suing her mother saying, hey, she didn't teach me the language, and I'm like, girl, get real. But hey, it's happening somewhere in the US or the UK. It's a story I read on the internet.
In the US, they sue for everything.
Yeah,
So
that's how it goes. So let's move on to the next question.
mhm.
Do you have any advice for anybody considering making the jump, moving to Canada? Your views.
Once again, it's going to be the research, because some of us leave back home. We have such an amazing job. We have a beautiful house. And, we were a teacher back home, and we didn't do the research when we came here, not realizing that the credentials back home is not equivalent here. So when we're thinking we think that the grass is greener on the other side, a lot of us struggle when we get here. And, when we come with our family, it's another thing if you come single and you can then go back to school because you don't have that financial responsibility to, carry your family.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're going to be chasing after the dollar, right? And then for some of us, it takes us years.
Yeah.
And some of us don't even get the opportunity to be in that, career that we were back home. So for some people, they regret coming, but that's because the research wasn't done before they came, right? So once again, the biggest thing is just researching, understand where you're coming from. If you have a career back home, what's that equivalent? Have it in your mind that, if I have to come and go back to school, have plans for that financially so that you can do that. But I just think that we think that the grass is greener on the other side. Hello, look at those in the States. Look what's now happened. We all looked up to the America. How many people really want to go back home at this stage? You know what I mean? So it's really doing the research. Once you get here, find a community that can help you with that transition, because speaking and asking questions is huge. It can take someone 2 years to, get to a certain level, and it could take someone 10 years because they decided that they didn't want to ask questions because of, I don't know,
whatever the reasons may be.
whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? And it's just really unfortunate, right? So, I think back to, I went to England for 2 years and I did this work holiday visa there. And, you go to England and you have to put your picture and stuff on your resume. And it's just like,
Really?
mean, right? So if you apply for a job, say for instance, I didn't know this, right? But if I apply for a job without the pictures, right away, my resume is gone. Right? So it's researching where you're going, making sure that your resume is equivalent so that people can even look at what you're doing. I was very fortunate now that I think about it. I was a staffing consultant for years, and I worked with Kelly Services and I worked with Bowen Workforce Solutions. So I worked with, the Synovises and the ConocoPhillips, and these were my clients. So when someone comes in from a different country, these guys are my clients. So I could promise them that who I'm sending them can do that work. So I was that middleman person, right? Which worked out very well. But, I was able to tell them, fix your resume, do this, do that, and you'll get in. But for some of us, oh boy, sorry. Now we're starting on something different here.
That's the whole point. Let's go. Talk to me.
Some of us need to downsize our resumes because we are overqualified, but you just want to get in the door, but we're holding on to this qualification that some of these employers are not going to want to see. And I don't know if they feel threatened or they just feel like you're going to be bored, but you just need a job. Do you know what I mean? Or we come to Canada and I'm telling people, do some volunteer work. No, I need to work. I get it, but you need that experience behind your belts. So that's another thing is, when we come from different countries, we need to get some work experience here. And a lot of the employers want to see that. Once again, I haven't been in the corporate world for years. I don't know how it is now compared to before. But those were struggles that I had to work with when people came to me and they needed work. But at the same time, those who were at church or wherever, they knew, go see Andrea, she'll get you something. Do you know what I mean? But there's some people were holding on to, their degree. Take off the degree, please. You're just gonna be answering the phone. Yep, take it off. You know what I mean? So it's research, adapting, understanding, and we'll go much further.
Wow. Now that last little bit there it struck home for me because I know quite a number of people who are going through that process, and they're having to volunteer and work for free, and they're working jobs that they haven't worked at in 10, 15, never really in their
Right.
career.
Right.
But one thing I can say I have seen over again is um, people being able to make that decision to say, hey, you know what? This is a phase. I'm going to go through it and I'm going to grow through it.
Right. Right.
And in growing through it, they come to a place where they're able to, their skills are recognized, their
Right.
experience is recognized, and then they get the due credit. And then the economic benefit does come.
It does. It
But at least I haven't, at least two, there are two stories in my head that fit that scenario. But
right.
hey, those are just two stories. There are
Right.
hundreds of thousands of people out there who are trying to um, make their way
Yeah.
and rebuild their lives here. And our hope and desire is that as we share these stories, that they come into their own and they find their place once again,
Mm-hmm.
right? So without taking any more time, I want to say thank you to you, Andrea, for choosing to spend about the last hour with me, just talking about um, being a second generation immigrant and what it means, right? And your perspective definitely is important for the community because the truth is we have people coming with their kids on a daily basis. The kids have left all their friends behind, they've left all that they know behind. The warm weather's gone, the soccer in the streets is gone, the taking a bucket to get water downstairs is gone. They're happy about that one though.
Right.
But basically, their lives have been turned upside down and inside out, and they have to relearn everything all over again. So, hearing it from somebody like you, who's been there, done that, and still turned out fine, is always going to be an encouragement. So, thank you very much for your time.